A viewer says, I have noticed on many college campuses and Catholic youth groups that there has been a resurgence of C.S. Lewis. Many of my Catholic friends are reading his works like Screwtape Letters and Mere Christianity. So what are your thoughts on C.S. Lewis's works, Father?
Well, I think they're very entertaining, very well written. He certainly had a literary flair. They also have a certain simplicity, which is charming and very bold and very colorful. He certainly does represent moral issues, right, in graphic ways. I can understand why college students would find that very interesting. I would hope that they would graduate from C.S. Lewis to reading G.K. Chesterton, though. If they read C.S. Lewis and don't go on to reading Chesterton, they've missed the boat somewhere. Chesterton has more of an intellectual bent to him. I mean, he has all the virtues of C.S. Lewis's writing, but adds to it a certain intellectual flair, which really is not only, I would say, instructive, kind of modern-day parables about biblical realities, as C.S. Lewis has, but I think that Chesterton goes beyond that to enable one to be kind of a scholar of these things. His implementation of paradox and so on. Now, one has to remember that C.S. Lewis, Chesterton, the others were literary giants of that period, were in contact with each other. And Chesterton, as you know, was a convert. There were other converts at the time, but C.S. Lewis held out. I mean, it's not as though C.S. Lewis never thought of converting to the Catholic faith. He did think of it. And in fact, there were those who wrote to him. Other non-Catholics wrote to C.S. Lewis because they thought that he must have a very good reason for not becoming a Catholic. So there were other young literary men of his time, maybe women too, who wrote to C.S. Lewis because they figured, okay, he knows why there's something wrong with the Catholic faith, and he can tell us why we should not convert. One in particular wrote to C.S. Lewis asking what his arguments were against the Catholic faith and why he resolutely refused to convert to Catholicism, when a goodly number of other literary giants of his age did. And C.S. Lewis's answer was so poor, it was mere prejudice, that this young man actually took C.S. Lewis's answer as an indication of the strength and the rightness of the Catholic faith, because Lewis could offer no serious reason for not being Catholic. I don't know what prevented C.S. Lewis from conversion to Catholicism. I know he wound up, linked to a divorcee. And he cared for her in her slow death by cancer, which would have taken some virtue, I'm sure. But nonetheless, personally, I have the impression with C.S. Lewis that he felt the Catholic Church just demanded too much in terms of morality. Not that I'm accusing him of being a moral wastrel or anything like that, but it just seems that though he had some kind of prejudice there that stopped him. I mean, this is all on the record. One can investigate these things and look at this exchange of correspondence and judge for himself. So I think C.S. Lewis has a lot of good things to say, but I think in the end he failed to take that last all-important step, and that something held him back, and it was not something good. I think it was something personal and a weakness. Mm-hmm. Someone always has to keep that in mind. He did not have the Catholic faith, and he would not have it. When many others in his day were seeing the truth of Catholicism, and that Elizabeth's attack on the faith was a revolution against the true faith, he would not admit to that. Would I give somebody a copy of the Screwtape Letters to read? Yes, I would. Have I read them myself? Yes, I have. Would I give, any number of the other things he wrote? Yeah, there are things I would. But that would only be a step in the process. I wouldn't say, hey, read this and this will tell you everything you should know. I would just take somebody who maybe is in an early level of conversion, maybe somebody very worldly and so on, give them a copy of the Screwtape Letters, right? or some other work of C.S. Lewis. I'm trying to remember some of the titles that I would recommend for different groups. But that would be basically to begin to turn their minds to thinking more in terms of supernatural things and moral principles. But I would definitely want to take them beyond C.S. Lewis then.